Every game starts with some kind of excitement, and for Fortnite, that's the battle bus. The entire course of the game is changed by the direction the battle bus is going, and where you drop makes a significant impact and affects a world of things that you'd never even imagine. Especially in competitive games, it's essential to plan out where you're going to drop. Certain areas on the map are better than others. The loot, the mats, and the rotations all gotta be considered beforehand. That's why in this video, we're gonna give you our 2 cents about the best places to drop in Season X. This video definitely needed an update because there have been so many changes to the map. Some spots give surprisingly good results, so we'll let you in on everything that we've noticed so far. The last thing that you'd want is to hop into a new game only to realize that your favorite spot has been ruined by Epic once again. Alright, before we get into it, we'd like to announce that we're adding new features to our site. Exclusive guide and analysis videos for our pro members. Also, Pro Pass now grants access to all games. We also have more free coaching passes and points for InstaPro if you're a pro member, so head on over to Pro Guides by clicking in the link description below. Quick disclaimer, this video will be focused mainly on the best places to drop for competitive games like Arena or a Cash Cup, because the places you'll want to land in a solo squad game vary significantly from Arena, so you'll want to keep that in mind. The Battle Bus, where it all begins. Depending on the direction of the battle bus, a particular spot can either be the best option or the worst. Alright, if the bus is heading straight over your spot, then it probably won't be the best option. Most people will land right over the battle bus, and if you're trying to play the long game in Arena, then it's a good idea to drop somewhere far away. So what constitutes a good spot anyway? Well, it really comes down to a few factors. Number 1 is rotation. Having solid rotations out of somewhere is incredibly essential because it sets you up for the rest of the game. Let's take Viking for example. It's an excellent spot by itself, but considering the lack of mats and recent changes to the map, it's not a very good place to go anymore. You might have noticed that pros haven't been dropping there very much, and that's just because of the recent changes to the map. Think about it, what spot are you going to rotate to straight after Viking? Tilted? No thank you. Unfortunately, Epic has kept removing more and more mobility, so it's super important that you start out with a good position. While we might see some increased mobility in the future, it's still something to consider right now. If there were still ballers in the game, then Frosty would remain a great option, but they pretty much ruined that entire area by taking them out. Of course, drift boards still exist, but they leave you too vulnerable to shots. Number 2 is loot. Some spots have more loot than others, but some places are lacking. Have you ever landed Sunny Steps? It is abysmal. While you should have enough loot in solos, some POIs don't have enough for a duo or trio. Lastly, we've got mats. Don't get me wrong, this is so important and it kind of ties into rotations, but we're talking about mats in the area itself. Materials are one of the most critical factors, and leaving your drop spot without sufficient amount of mats means you'll get caught up in a gunfight and sprayed down. Alright, our runner-up location is none other than Lazy Lagoon. Now, I know we just mentioned that going somewhere uncrowded is better, and now we're bringing up Lazy Lagoon. But trust us, it's a great place to go for any game for one reason: reliability. As long as you spend some time dropping Lazy and get a feel for it, then you'll know how to play it and what to do there every time. It's effortless to get kills there and make it out alive consistently. Speaking of making it out, the rotations of Lazy are high. Going towards the center of the map, you'll be able to catch a lot of people off guard. While most people are expecting players from the bottom of the map at spots like Salty and Paradise, you can find them lacking and get the upper hand. Honestly, it's pretty uncommon to see people rotate from the upper hemisphere, and that's what makes it such a great spot. Another great thing about the rotations is the protection around there. Not only is there a reboot van nearby, but there's tons of natural cover and other looting spots right around it. Even if the drop doesn't go as planned, you'll still have tons of places to fall back on, which is what makes it so consistent. As far as loot and mats go, Lazy is in a class of its own. On the ship alone there's enough loot, but there's also a whole other town. Make sure to get wood from the pallets in the boat as well as the sails, and you'll pretty much be good to go on wood. From there, you've got lots of other spots for metal and brick. Did you know that the anchors on the big house give you 50 metal, and that big tomato head at the old temple gives you over 100? Okay, so next up we have Pandora. Pandora was recently added with the update version 10.20. It's a very stark and creative-like area which mimics the Borderlands 3 style. Its scenery and imagery are beautiful, and it almost looks like a cartoon-like world. It really gives Fortnite the adventurous feel. What makes this place so surprising is that it literally contains the same elements as that game. You regain shield after being out of combat for more than 3 seconds, meaning landing there is a surefire way to get a shield for you and your friends. Its material base is also quite lovely, and has an abundance of loot, chest spawns, and materials all around the map. The thing about new locations is that they are usually crazily contested, and that's the case here. The good news is, if you're looking to really up your game and get some fantastic high kill games, this is the place you want to be. The place is entirely new, but it's crazy good for virtually all scenarios. In fact, it may get contested at times because who doesn't want free shields? Literally, as you're landing, your shield is already nearly full. The downside is that very long fights against decent opponents mean you need to burst somebody down. Otherwise, they'll just keep regenerating shield. But we highly recommend checking out this spot. It's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, on to our next place, the block. This is a little weird. The block is constantly changing roughly every week, so we can't give you specific advice on how good the mats, drop, or loot will be at any given time. But just from testing the spot multiple times, I can tell you that it always has an abundance of ammo crates, chest spawns, and even materials. But we can still provide some information on how its positioning is. The block is surprisingly similar to Westworld in terms of its spot on the map. It's pressed up against the ocean, which blocks off any potential attacks from the back, and there's the Infinite Rift at Loot Lake not far ahead. One of Tfu's usual landing spots is the block, so try landing there and see how it works for you. But it looks like that'll be up to Epic on how they want to balance it in the future. Heading on to the next one, we have Loot Lake and its surrounding drops. This is one that we just had to include on this list. After the addition of the Infinite Rift, Loot Lake has become one of the best POIs in the game. And now with Tilted Town, you won't be getting pushed by people stacked with mats and loot quite as much. Honestly, the only reason this area is so good is because of the rotations. You're guaranteed a spot in the zone, and if you're not, then hop into the Rift. Its positioning on the map is impeccable. It's literally right at the center, and how do you beat that? While it might seem easy to get third-partied by too many teams, it's super easy to just box up and wait for the zone. From there, you've got a Rift that you can use as many times as you want to rotate out. Epic did a great job improving this spot because it was never really that good in the past. When we talk about loot and resources, it's literally amazing. It has enough resources and loot for a 3-man squad split up around the entire Loot Lake section. It also provides convenient angles and rotational strategies. It's actually the prime spot of Saf and Zate, two of Fortnite's scariest players. Throughout this entire drop spot, there are usually a substantial amount of guns, materials, and loot, but be warned, there are always lots of people around that spot and not much cover. Alright, heading into our final location for the day. Last on this list, we've got Lonely Lodge. It's always been one of those lesser talked about spots, so we wanted to give it some more attention. When you break it down, it's pretty good. Arguably, its weakest point is rotation. After they took out the ballers, there isn't a way to get out quickly unless you can find a drift board. That isn't to say that you're screwed, but make sure to get into the zone a bit earlier than you usually would. It's located right in the center of the map vertically, which means that you won't be on the absolute other side of the map like you would be at Frosty Flights or Sunny Steps. One pro for Lonely is its drop spots. The entire POI is super spread out, which makes it insanely easy to not get killed off spawn. If someone's going to reach somewhere earlier than you, go to the next one. There's enough space in between everything that you'll have time to get looted up with guns and mats. And boy oh boy are there mats. It's inside a forest, so you're going to be pretty much instantly set on wood, and there's also tons of brick lying around. There isn't too much metal, but 1,000 mats should be enough to take a fight and get metal from that opponent. The guns are sparse, but there's always going to be enough for one player. The ground loot laying around will provide you with all the weapons you'll need for early game at least, so if the house you're in doesn't have anything, you should be able to find something laying around. Dropping can be heavily RNG based. So many things can go wrong, and sometimes it just feels like it's a guessing game. Well, most of the time, it isn't. Certain spots are just less RNG based than others, and that's what we tried to focus on in this video. Maximizing your chances of making it out alive is paramount, and every spot listed in this video gives you that, in addition to a good foundation of mats and guns for late game. Hopefully Epic will continue to work on their balancing so we can continue to see more good spots as we listed in this video, but it looks like this is what we'll be working with. If you guys did like this video and you want to see more like it, or if you got any suggestions, let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to drop a like on this video. Thanks so much guys, and we'll see you in the next one.